Uh-oh, for those of you who don't recognize that, that is the theme music to the People's Court, and the verdict is in. The jury, or shall I say Peyton Manning in this case, has made his decision, and it is guilty of going to the Denver Broncos and making the wrong decision. I find him guilty on all charges. I can't believe he went to Denver. I'm really shocked, to be honest with you. It really is surprising. I thought that he would have been smarter than that and went to my San Francisco 49ers, but hey, you know what? He made his decision. Apparently him and John Elway got some quarterback love affair, and hey, great, you know what, I wish all the best of luck to him, but I thought either Tennessee or San Francisco would have made a better choice at this point between the three that were left. I originally had picked Kansas City. My partner went ahead and picked Arizona, which are both, I think, even better choices than the Denver Broncos. Speaking of my partner, he is in Florida, spring training action. He's getting some of the scoop on some of the baseball that's happening right now. His boy A-Rod, who he's not so high on and I'm high on, is hitting a few home runs. But he had his draft, and he's going to come back and tell you all about it and give all of his opinion about Peyton Manning and all the free agents that are going on. And, you know, it's been a frenzy, but of course, the big one, the big star of the free agent marathon that has been taking place, the winner is Peyton Manning. He's going to get a big contract. Look like he's going to get about $20 million a year. I'm hearing about $60 million guaranteed to go to Denver and be the new quarterback of the Broncos. And like I say, I'm shocked. I don't think it's the right move. Do they have good players? Yeah, they have a pretty good defense. They got definitely a good wide receiver, Demaryius Thomas. Eric Decker looks like he could do a couple of things. Willis McGahee's an aging running back, and the reason why I think the fact that he had such a breakout year is because Tim Tebow is such a threat to run, which we all know Peyton Manning obviously isn't. Which leads to another question, which we'll get into, is what happens to Tim Tebow now? Because, all word and all discussions are the fact that he's out of here. They're going to look to trade him. There's not many teams right now that are looking for a starting quarterback except for maybe Miami, and maybe you could debate Jacksonville if they're not high on Blaine Gabbert. And, that was one of the teams that had reportedly had a lot of interest in Tim Tebow originally, and their new owner, really likes him and would love to have him on the team. But that's another story. Right now, the big deal is Peyton Manning and how he's going to fit in with Denver. Look, it's a winnable division, which is one of the reasons I thought he should have gone to Kansas City to begin with. But Kansas City has more weapons than Denver. Denver, like I say, they really don't have all of it. And yes, it's better for him to stay in the AFC. One, he's more comfortable there. He's familiar with it, and it's a weaker conference at this point. You really only have the Patriots and Pittsburgh and Baltimore to worry about consistently. I shouldn't say only, because obviously it's a very big deal. But look, he's staying. He went to Denver, and I find it to be a really interesting move on his part. I really don't get it. I know he's got a pretty good record there. I think he's 3-0 all time there. Obviously, he doesn't play a lot, but I know it's a really nice city to live in and everything, and I hear wonderful things about it. And again, him and John Elway do have this. They do have this relationship. And again, God bless him. I hope it works out well for him. Of course, I don't want him to win a Super Bowl if he's going to be playing my 49ers at some point, but he's there. And look, he'll be around for about 3 years, from what I understand, even though it is a 5-year deal worth about $95. That was, kind of like the pending situation with everything, and we'll see what the final numbers are, but they are in negotiations. Are the Broncos now a contender with Peyton Manning? Certainly they are. They're absolutely a contender because they have him. I mean, look, the Broncos, I know, they went 8-8 last year, but they did make the playoffs. They did beat somewhat of a big banged-up Pittsburgh Steelers team in a home game, and then they got wiped out by the Patriots, who eventually went to the Super Bowl and lost to the New York Giants. And the Giants there, they made a few moves also. Mario Manningham, who was a big part of that Super Bowl win, is now on the 49ers. So is Randy Moss, and I thought that was going to be another thing. The Randy Moss thing was interesting to me. I thought that may have been a deterrent for Peyton Manning. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with having Randy Moss. Maybe he thought maybe it was a headache for him, something possibly. I'm not exactly sure. But I'm kind of thinking maybe if Moss wasn't there and it was another wide receiver they grabbed, like a Vincent Jackson or something, maybe that would have enticed Peyton to come a little bit more. But again, I'm really not sure what the answer is, and we move on. As for Tebow, look, Jacksonville maybe, Miami maybe. I'm not sure who else is looking for a quarterback. Maybe Cleveland. I don't know what they're going to do with Colt McCoy. Obviously, they're not going after RG3. So there's a lot to be discussed here now. It really opens a lot of windows. And another one that we're talking about, since we're on the 49ers in Miami, Alex Smith. All right, he went ahead and had visited with Miami after all this Peyton Manning talk, hearing that Peyton Manning might be coming over to the 49ers. You know what? I don't blame him. And I'll tell you another thing. As a 49er fan, I'm not going to say I don't want him because he did improve And I do like what he did last year. I appreciate the fact that he didn't turn the ball over. He did look better. There's no question about it. But I know from watching him after all this time, he's not going to take us to a Super Bowl. I just know it. Although they were very close to going last year, he wasn't the reason why. Again, if they had a better quarterback, then everything, in my opinion, would be working out much better. If they had a Peyton Manning, to me, they're in the Super Bowl. And that's it. All right, so now Alex Smith goes and visits with the Dolphins. They sat down for over 5 hours from what I hear. So if he goes there, what do the 49ers do now? They drafted Colin Kaepernick last year in the second round, I believe it was, and I don't think that they're ready to go ahead and make him the quarterback. If Miami offers Alex Smith a lot of money, he's going to go if the 49ers don't at least match it. He doesn't have to show any loyalty at this point. I guess they haven't shown him any, but, how can you blame San Francisco? Look, Peyton Manning's out there. You want to get him? Again, I believe they had Peyton Manning last year. They're in the Super Bowl, possibly winning it. And I'm not blaming it on Alex Smith. It's just that they needed more offense against these teams, and he's not the guy to provide it. He did. I don't like when people say, "Oh, Alex Smith proved himself last year." Look, it's been now his 8th year in the league. He didn't prove anything. He had a good 4 minutes against the Saints. Me and my partner were actually arguing about it a little bit. Surprisingly, he backs up Alex Smith, and I understand. He's made the point that he's been through 7 different offensive coordinators, and that is extremely valid. There's no question. But the proof is in the pudding to me. He just doesn't have that skill level. And again, I pointed out with a guy like Randy Moss coming there, I don't even know how he's going to throw him the ball. So there's a lot to be said of that. Moving on with quarterbacks a little bit, you got Matt Flynn who signs with Seattle. So there's another team that is pretty much locked up their quarterback position, regardless of whether or not they're going to have a tryout over there, or a competition, I should say, between Tavares Jackson, Charlie Whitehurst, whoever else they bring in there. They gave him enough money, Matt Flynn, to be the starter. So $26 million over 3 years, that's starting money, and he's going to get it. So does that make Seattle a contender in that division? No, I don't think so. They still don't have any weapons. They got Marshawn Lynch, and they signed him to a pretty big contract for a guy who's been in the league now for, over 6 years or whatever it's been. So it's been a long time. How do the Titans feel? Or more specifically, how does Matt Hasselbeck feel and Jake Locker feel about this? Jake Locker, probably nothing. I'm sure he wouldn't have minded Peyton Manning coming in there and maybe getting some tutelage from him for another year or two, whatever it is. But I like Locker. He showed a lot. But Matt Hasselbeck was great last year, and he had some injuries, unfortunately. Had he not, I believe they would have been in the playoffs and, not a Super Bowl contender. But, again, if Peyton Manning goes there, I think they have a better, more complete team. Nate Washington, Kenny Britt, CJ2K. A lot of guys in the back, a lot of guys on that offense, and definitely a pretty solid defense. But Denver definitely has a good offensive line. They got a few weapons. I'm guessing Dallas Clark is going to end up over there because Peyton's going to need some sort of familiarity. Doesn't really have a tight end, the Broncos, so I could see Dallas Clark going over there for, somewhat reasonable money. So I wouldn't rule that out, and that'll certainly help Peyton Manning on offense. And look, Brian Dawkins is gone. One of their big-time linebackers, DJ Williams, is going to be suspended for a few games, so they're not in great shape. All right, so we'll see. I really find it to be a very questionable decision. So now you got an opening in San Fran and Miami. They're the only two left. Alex Smith is out there. Tim Tebow's out there. Now, the 49ers, they got themselves a problem. If Alex Smith signs somewhere else, I know it's weird to say, but right now with the quarterbacks that are out there, the ones that are available, I should say, he's the guy I want. Or what, I would have loved it if they would have tried to maybe even get Jason Campbell before all this started, but he's backing up in Chicago now. So, look, I'm not really thrilled. Needless to say, the 49ers definitely improved. They bring in all their starters back on defense. They got pretty much all their starters back on offense, plus more weapons in Mario Manningham and Randy Moss. But, Peyton Manning would have made everything, just a whole lot sweeter. So, look, it is what it is. Just really looking forward to it. We'll see what happens, They're going to report like mini camps and everything. I'm sure Peyton's going to be holding his own tryouts. He'll have the run of the offense. John Fox will do the defense. And, look, it seems like a really great situation for him personally to really have the run of the mill and do whatever he wants to do. I just don't think it's the right team. But time will tell. We'll see. Thanks for hanging in. Wanted to make it a really quick edition just to get the Peyton Manning info out to you and my thoughts on it. We're going to have a few calls coming in this week. Again, my partner will be out for the entire week in Florida. Again, going through the spring training, but I'm sure he'll be updated on everything, even, Dolphins and everything like that, Miami Heat, so we'll get his insight going forward. Thanks for hanging out. Root for Sports Podcast. And again, go to rootforsports.com. all the info, sports blogs. We have interviews. We got it all up there. Special shout out to Sports Muse, Sports Report 360, Milani Malik. Love you all. See you later.